I gently pushed open the door, and there they were, your husband and mother. They were just doing what they always did when I arrived. It might sound like a soap opera, but it's a real-life story. Carla took her husband and mother with her to bed, which you would do if you saw such a scene. Applause. You're 33. You took your husband and mother to bed with you. Hi, in bed with my mother. How? I'll tell you about the time when I was 4 years old, and my mom and her husband were in a car. I was with my mom and her husband. If I hadn't married, she would have. It was because she loved him so much. He was a great person. I stopped a lot, and then I left. He stayed, and they lived together. They lived in the same house, and his mother's husband lived nearby. That's it. It all began when I was just 4 years old. I was with him, and if I hadn't married, she would have. She was head over heels for him. He was a kind and generous person. Then, I started to distance myself from him. He stayed, and they lived together as a family. His mother's husband lived nearby. That's all there was to it. We had a little boy for a year, and then we said goodbye. I never went with him. Today, he always invented something. So, later, there was a 1-year-and-month wedding. He always invented something, and he didn't accompany me. Nothing. And he always let me go alone. She was never a lot to leave home, either. Then, we were a carnival, and we just were a carnival. I left it. My daughter and my sister were with me. That's how the carnival got there. He made everything to discuss with. We had a little boy for a year, and then we said goodbye. I never went with me, and he always invented something. So later, we had a 1-year-and-a-month wedding. He always invented something, and he didn't accompany me. Nothing. And he always let me go alone. She was never a lot to leave home, either. We are a carnival, and I left it. My daughter and my sister were with me. It's how the carnival got there. He made everything to discuss with me. It's to leave, only he didn't leave home and left to his brother's house. And then you don't sell it. I stayed. Continue the carnival there when I gave a certain time. I left and he didn't. I was at home. Hi, and she wasn't at home either. And I knew he was my brother. His brother had told me that he had arrived there. In the old days, it was very SMS. You know, it was going sleep there. I took and got down there like this. I was thinking of leaving, but he didn't want to leave home. He left for his brother's house. I didn't want to sell it, so I decided to stay at the carnival. I left at a certain time, but he didn't. He wasn't at home either. I knew he was my brother, because he had told me that he had arrived there. In the old days, it was very SMS. I took a nap there. I got down there like this. I left the cellular carnival in the house of his brother. This one was at home. I didn't find anyone. Then his brother was there. I knocked on the door, but no one understood. I just passed by, because the door was glass. You passed by, then passed another, and there I stuck my foot on the door. Both naked, both your husband and your mother. Yes, they were doing what exactly? When you put your foot at the door, I found it was fucking right. But what did you see? I left the cellular carnival at my brother's house. I didn't find anyone, so I knocked on the door. No one understood, because the door was glass. You passed by, and then you passed another. Then you stuck your foot in the door, both naked, both your husband and your mother. Yes, they were doing what exactly? When you put your foot in the door, I found it was fucking right. But what did you see? And the two of them standing naked. He was excited, oh, very excited, and she was already hitting me, nose. She was watching you if you remember me beating you naked in my face. She spoke as soon as I always love, and if she shouted at me, she was half drunk. She screamed for me. I always, Emily, and you always. I always wanted to make myself unhappy, and shouted to me that she loved him. It's just that he didn't say anything. And he didn't. The two of them were standing naked, and he was excited, too. He was already hitting on me, and he knew it. He was watching you, and he was always on my mind. He beat me up naked in my face, and he shouted at me. He was half drunk, and he screamed for me. I always loved Emily, and you always loved me. I always wanted to make myself unhappy, and I shouted to her that she loved him. He didn't say anything. He was quiet. I was quiet, too. He was fine, and then he brought you. I only talked to her when it was necessary, and we weren't very close. But then, as if to solve this situation, you got there. They were naked, and your mother came to above you. And yes, I called my sister. And now, sister was there too, but only when my sister arrived. I was doing well, very scratched up from the time my brother had beaten her. My two brothers arrived. I didn't say anything. I was quiet. He was quiet, too. Then, he brought her. I only talked to her when I needed to. We weren't very close, but we had a lot of contact. Then, as if that situation had solved itself, you got there. They were naked. Your mother came over to you, and there was my sister, too. But only when my sister arrived. I was doing well, except for my scratched face, which was from my brother. My two brothers arrived in the room. They came in and asked the love of God not to do that. He spoke to my brothers, too. He said, I love him. I want to stay with him. He did nothing. He didn't say anything. My sister spoke to him, saying, he did nothing. He didn't open his mouth, and my sister spoke to him like this. You did it because it was doing this with her. He doesn't. I said nothing. I lowered my head and stayed. My two brothers came into the room, and my mother asked them to ask for the love of God on my behalf. She spoke to my brothers, too. I love him. I want to stay with him, she said. He didn't say a word. My sister spoke to him, saying, you did it, and it was the same with her. He doesn't do that. I said nothing. I lowered my head and stayed. Our marriage ended like this, talk without anything. He was there when I was using your brother. And there is no with my brother. He was coming. And coconut is when I started calling my sister, when I left her for her to stop hitting me. I was with the cell phone. So I called my mother quickly. Put on your hard-run underwear. It will happen. It was beautiful and good. I saw I miss here. She is a big cat. Our huge, what wonderful thing. That one. Our marriage ended with a heartbreaking conversation. I was using your brother when I was with my sister, and there was no coconut. I started calling my sister when I left her for her to stop hitting me. I was with my cell phone, so I called my mother quickly. I put on my hard-run underwear, and it was not hard. It was beautiful and good. I miss her big cat. It was a wonderful thing, that right? But it's not worth your mother is how much older. Time is older than you, my mother. I have 33, she has 55. She is older than you or the same age. No, he is 2 years older. Only 2 years in these were married 4 years ago. These 4 years. You noticed that your mother was jealous of you. She was very jealous, who said several things. Who sent them? And then everything was beautiful in me. I said it was ugly. And I saw that it. Oh, you're right, but it's nothing compared to what my mother went through. She's 15 years older than me, and I'm 33. She's 55. She's 2 years older than you, but they're the same age. They got married 4 years ago, and I noticed that my mother was jealous of you. She said you were beautiful, and I said you were ugly. She saw that you were beautiful, though. It was like that forever. That was the whole life, or just that period when you were married. It's the whole life. So you have never been next to your mother and her. I have never eaten near her, and why? You lived with her cat, and then you paid rent. You don't know how to lose some stewardship, and you go up. If this was the first time they had sex, or had other experiences, this is how she said I was beautiful, but she was the one who was beautiful. She was always ashamed when she saw me. She was always ashamed when she saw me. It was like that for the whole of our lives, or at least during our marriage. It's the whole life, so you never really know. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really know what you're doing, and why you're doing it. You never really. It was just that time, right? I don't know how to deal with people's pain, but I'm sure it was a very special time. When I went to travel in December, I must have spent many, many nights in my bed with her. The wedding is over, and it's over. Hi, and there's your daughter. How was the divorce process? You haven't spoken about these things again. I was able to leave the house after a week. Someone from my city called her house. In 1 week, 10 days remained to see if I contest was called. He did not talk to me about it. He wanted to explain something like this. He took his things, although I know I said they stay until today. I never asked him. I always see it, and it always comes in my house to see my girl for a walk. They do not officially assume, but if it comes hidden and not ours, and you realize when she sees me, she's ashamed, the key so. In just 1 week, there are 10 days left before Mother's Day. I'm not sure if he's aware of the contest, but I'd love to talk to him about it. He didn't mention anything, but he did take his things. I know I told him to stay until today, but I never asked him. I always see him coming to my house to take my girl for a walk. They don't officially assume anything, but if it comes hidden and not ours, and you realize when she sees me, she's ashamed. So, it's what I was going to ask you, and how you went with the talk about the subject. No, but we never talk about the subject. But you have already found her again several times, and then how many times? When it's my daughter's birthday, I invite, because I don't have a bad heart. She has a very good heart. I don't know how to keep people's hurt, but then how is the climate like her? I was just about to ask you about that, and how you and your mother talked about it. No, but we never talk about it. But you've already found her again several times, right? And how many times? Well, it's my daughter's birthday, so I invite her because I don't have a bad heart. She has a very good heart. I don't know how to deal with people's hurt, but what was her reaction when she saw you? It was boring and horrible. My brothers did not accept her, and my sister did not accept her until today. I will be happy by your side. The photo on my side is all of my side, but your mother even lowers her look when she avoids talking to you. She avoids talking to me, too. She plays more in the corner with my girl. She pulled the subject of another like this. My brothers know my moral brothers, even though she knows Mother's Day. I'm not sure if we're on the same page, but I'll try to explain. We're not on good terms with my sister-in-law. She's not part of our family, and I don't think she ever was. I'm not sure if it was flowers or something else, but there was something about her that just didn't click. My dad was always drawn to her, and I think she had a big influence on us. I was more like the duckling, you know. I'm sure he'll hit the post. I didn't say anything bad. You're not pretty. You're fat. She said a lot of mean things like that, but I live. We're quite cursed now. I don't think it's as bad as that. I think it's related to her hurting you. It's the only one. I'll be like this as soon as I feel like it. I have time. As soon as I feel like never seeing her, she knows how to be logical. Nowadays, as soon as I ask God, never let me see her in mine again. And it will. I'm not one to say mean things. I'm not the type. I don't think he was seduced, but I think he was seduced. I think we're quite cursed now. Beat like this, not cursing. I think it's related to her. I hurt her. It's the only one. I have time as soon as I feel like never seeing her. She knows I'm not logical. As soon as I ask God, I never let me see her in mine again. It will come out soon. I'm very well. It's not so for other people, but not. Honestly, I like him a lot. I like it still. I like it if he asks to come back today. You come back. Hi, what time does he come to see my girl? I want to grab it. So, but I'm afraid. Nobody saw right. Not me. Send a message and speak like this to me. Tell her to wait at the gate that is just for her. I'm not only for her. Wait for him at the I'm doing really well, and I hope you are too. I'm not worried about other people. I'm just worried about you. I really like him, and I'd be happy if he asked to come back today. If he came back, I'd be so happy. I'd want to grab him right away, but I'm afraid. Nobody saw right, not me. Send a message and tell her to wait at the gate. It's just for her, not only for her. Wait for him at the gate. I hope you still feel something for him. You'd trust him to go back with him, and who knows? I really like him. I can't stay with no one. I already knew other people, but no. You'll think the betrayal was worse than your mother's. My mother is right. What a mother is a mother, but you think he was seduced or he also seduced? I think he was seduced. I'm sure you understand how I feel. I think that if he trusted him, he would go back with him. I know I like a lot, and I can't stay with someone I already knew. I know you think the betrayal was worse than my mother's, but I think my mother is right. I think a mother is a mother, but you think he was seduced or he also seduced her. I think she went after him. I know, I thought I didn't, but I also think that I think about my head that my brother could have called me or spoken to me, but he didn't. She thinks that a man will not leave for a month. Oh, that makes me think. I will eat, and he was his first cat. And I was his first man. You took this idea day, is man eating who appears. I'm sure she went after him, I know. I thought I didn't, but I was wrong. I thought I didn't, but I also thought that my head would eat my brother. He could have called me or spoken to me, but he didn't. It's because she thinks that men are men and won't leave. A month is a long time. That's what my mother taught me. She said that I would eat, and he was the first man I ever met. I only met my first man, and he was my first cat. I took this idea from the world. It's like this, the world is like that. It's like eating you. It's giving to anyone who was going to eat. Oh no, then there's no difference between you two. I'm not talking about him like her, right? It's giving me, so I'll eat. But what is your difference? It's a man. You are a woman. And I think so. The woman likes this. She thinks the woman likes that if she wants, she can fuck every day, yesterday. Hot said that the world is like this. It's like it's eating you, giving to anyone who wants it. Oh, is that any different from you two? I'm not talking about him like her, right? It's giving me, so I'll eat. But what's your difference? It's a man, you're a woman. I think so, too. The woman likes that. If she wants, she'll fuck every day, yesterday. I think that man doesn't. So when you saw an opportunity to go, even if it's the mother of my wife, and I took it up, I think he thinks of this way, and you find that thought okay. Because if you come back and appear another opportunity, and no, there's no way he comes back. I say his wise from their part. Come back with me, or so much, I never saw. He talked to his. It's not my luck. I already got another, much more. I think that man doesn't. When you saw an opportunity to go, even if it's the mother of my wife, I took it up. I think he thinks of this way, and you find that thought okay. Because if you come back and appear another opportunity, and no, there, but he doesn't come back, I say he's wise from their part. Come back with me, or so much. I never saw. He talked to his. It's not my luck. I already got another, much more. That this serious thing with me is good in bed, too. Okay, great endowed. Ours we have to have been about 2 months old. Behind, I got a. I don't pagodinho there. We were already talking. You think it's small there? People were talking. There is going to voice. Let's follow there. I found our very wonderful. I noticed Our Lady and the twins from going. I'm so glad you're here. I've been meaning to tell you that I've been doing really well. I've been working out a lot, and I've lost a lot of weight. I'm doing great. I've been talking to this guy from the pagoda. He's a really nice person. He works in a workshop, and he's learned a lot. He's been trying to leave, but I've been trying to convince him to stay. I'm really happy to have met you. You're so nice. Our mother is here. She's been really supportive. She's been helping me a lot. I went to see some friends of mine, Mano, because he has done it, and you still have the courage to come back one day. I speak also that if I go after you, it will be worse. If he came after, I don't know. He regrets and spoke to me. It depends, okay. Yeah, but he never said no. There also runs in the city that goes there until today at her house. And if you I went there with some friends of mine, Mano, because he has done it, and you still have the courage to come back one day. I speak as someone who has been through this. If I go after you, things could get worse. He came after me, and I don't know what would happen. He regrets it and spoke to me. It depends, okay. But he never said no. There also runs in the city a person who goes there until today at her house. And if you could like this, if you had the power to give an order to your head and your heart at the same time, which would be the order you were going to give? And in my head, I forgot for the rest of my life all that has happened, and my heart broke free from him, since I know he won't stay with me. I understood I wanted him to, but he does not want to do what he has done yet. I would give you a foot if you'd give yourself a chance. I really hope you find what you're looking for, my dear cat. I hope you never come back to my life, because I need to move on. I hope you never come back to my life, because I need to be happy. I hope you never saw and there.